First of all, I'd like to, good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name is Janice Abel, and I'm an analyst with ARC Advisory Group. And I've been with ARC for the last 15 years, and you can read my bio, but my specific focus areas are production management, MES MOM, data platforms, operational historians, and a few other areas that I've worked in while I'm at ARC. And one of the things, though, is that we're seeing a lot of things around AI. And we're also seeing an inflection point, which is why I called this session "Future is Now: Smart Manufacturing and Operations in the Age of AI." So, do we have the speaker list? Is that back? Back one. You get it pointed at the back. Yes. So I'd just like to mention all the speakers that we have. We have people talk and what they're going to be talking a little bit about. They're going to be talking about some of the new technologies and things that they're seeing because, like I said, we are at that inflection point where we're going to see things coming together with technology, people, and processes, and all the things that you've seen during this forum. And we're really at an inflection point. And so we have a number of cases, and we're seeing all the different kinds of things and technologies. And I'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll show you a little bit of data and some surveys that we have done. So, like I said, the future is now. How many people remember the Jetsons, that cartoon? Show of hands. Okay, this is my survey. That was this little cartoon for the younger people, and it was the cutest thing because it was this automated space-type cartoon, and the people lived in space. And one of the things is they used to fly around in these they look like little, I don't know, little helicopter planes, but they were individual planes that families would fly around in like you do with a car today. And so I think about that, and then when I got out of school, engineering school, and I started going into plants, I started thinking, I thought these were going to be so much more automated, and we weren't there. And this is going back a long time. I don't even want to tell you how long, but very long time. And then little by little, I started seeing more and more of this automation. And we are starting to see more autonomous operations. And I really think that we're going to see that over and over again in the next few years. And that people are really going to start adopting technology in a much faster way, especially with AI. So I actually generated these pictures, some of them, you can tell which ones, with AI. And it was very easy. So just give you an idea. But one of the things, I bought version 1.0 of the Roomba, which is this little vacuum, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. And I thought that it would vacuum my house and do all my cleaning, but it turned out, because it was version 1.0, it really wasn't AI. I could tell what it was doing, but it was actually more work than what it was worth. But it was fun. I mean, while it lasted until the battery ran out, and it was expensive to buy a new battery, so I said, you know what? I'd rather just have a vacuum that I vacuum with. So then I always thought, well, Rosie, which looks like the robot that they had, this little lady that was part of the Jetsons, would be cool to have, and clean your house. And she actually would push the button, and the whole kitchen was automated and robotic, and it would cook your breakfast or cook your dinner. It was a really cool little character. It was a very futuristic cartoon. And we saw this little robot a few years ago. He was stepping through a process like for maintenance. So it was really interesting. It was used in actual operations. We brought it to the forum here. And then we see this, today we're starting to see these humanoid type robotics, but they're very expensive. And so the other thing that we are starting to see, these flying cars that are all electric. And so really, that's really the future is now. And I think we're going to see things like that. I thought today we'd be flying to the airport in our own little car that was out, you just take it right up in the sky and go. But that will happen, I think. It might be 5 years from now, it might be 10, and it'll be safe and everything. You just keep going. You don't have to worry about a lane or anything. So one of the things that we do see, though, we still see a lot of challenges that people are trying to address in manufacturing, like this idea of the OTET that you've been hearing a lot about. And if you don't know what any of these acronyms are, please let me know, and we can I'll answer those questions. But all other questions I'd like you to hold till the end, just like they have in all the other sessions, and we'll do it when we have all the panelists up here and you can ask all your questions. But we're still seeing factories that have still old systems. There's a few people out there that are these smaller operations that still have clipboards. And we're still seeing things like the way the human factor is engineered is not made for how they actually do the process. So it's not helpful sometimes. And those are things that are really, really important. And then my pet peeve is the cultural aspect, that you really need to align the business with the technologies and the operations and the collaboration and the community sharing. And then finally, it has to be cost effective and you have to show value for the company. So it needs to be about solving the business problems. So the cultural evolution to me is getting everybody on the same team. and that's easier said than done. So one of the survey questions that we asked is, and you probably saw this slide already, but what are some of the greatest AI implementation challenges that you've encountered so far? And a lot of them, really, ultimately, it's security, privacy, went too far. Ensuring data quality. These are all the things you're hearing about people are trying to address. Regulatory concerns, accessing data from proprietary software systems, finding industrial-grade data scientists in some cases. Although what I want to see is AI that you don't need a data scientist, that the AI just works with an engineer or the operator. So, and really, ultimately comes down to how do you get the right intelligence to the right person at the right time so that they can make data-driven or data-actionable decisions. Or the automatic system can do that for you, and you trust it enough to do that. So I will kind of talk a little bit about MES MOM. It's the area that I do focus on, and it's an enabler for the digital transformation. And the things that we've been seeing here is people want something that's seamless, scalable, and interoperable. They want to be able to get data from IT or OT, both ways actually, and also from the manufacturing systems down to the engineering technology system. They want to be able to take those engineering design drawings, P&ID drawings, and put them into the operations. And it makes a lot of sense because I remember working on, one of my very first projects was working on a refinery. It was actually a Saudi Arabian refinery, and I didn't go there, but I worked at a control company, and we were doing the controls for it. And so I remember thinking, now we're going to have to enter all this information back into the system. I mean, you had to do it manually in those days. And so you had the set points and the high and the low and the constraints, and it was a lot of work, and you could make mistakes with the transfer and also all the control information. So it makes a lot of sense to be able to access the data seamlessly and interoperably. So that was my point. So we also asked a question about what is a key to health technology, or what role will MES play in manufacturing intelligence, analytics, and AI? And 70% of the people said it will play a main role or a, I guess a main contributor, or it'll play a main role, which is the thing, and I forgot what the blue and the green, but I'll look at it later. But anyway, there's IT, OT, and ET integration, and also the digital transformation will also play a role. And there's some other areas as well that MES, and there's some that we didn't list, but they will play a role. So MES has a key role in the digital transformation and in all these technologies. So what about AI? What manufacturing applications are expected to use AI? And so we asked them which applications would use it the most. And of course, manufacturing intelligence makes a lot of sense. That was the number one. Also the visualization and the digital dashboards. So really the user experience will be a big part of this. Then we asked about data collection was next, quality management was next. And the one that I heard about while we were doing our research last year, I heard a lot about having AI in planning and scheduling. So, but we're hearing it in lots of different applications. We're seeing that they're building it into it, and they're doing it very specific for the application. So that's really what we're seeing. And we also asked about the value. I said, well, what value is the AI bringing to your organization? And majority of people have not been able to quantify it. they said it's bringing a lot of value, like in terms of time and things like that, and in terms of preventing things, but they said we really haven't gotten to that point yet. So I think we're right on the inflection point for that as well. And I think I did hear somebody tell me that they have it was here, an AI application that will help to measure the value. So that'll be very helpful for people. So I do think AI will be the game changer. And you can disagree or agree. So there's a lot of different technologies and trends that are impacting operations and production. And the number 1 and 2 to me was the cloud and data lakes. And we're seeing cloud being one of the fastest areas of growth for the manufacturing execution systems. It's growing faster than other areas that we look at and quantify. AI, of course, being built into it. And other technologies like platforms and things like that, they're changing. We're seeing these low-code, no-code platforms. And we'll actually see an example of one today. And we're also seeing the idea of more autonomous operations and the idea of personification, having roles and personas, and also human engineering, so that things are much more intuitive and that it works the way that you work and you think. And that's hard to do sometimes, but it really can have a real positive impact. So one of the other questions people sometimes ask us, well, which industries are using MES the most? Well, interestingly enough, the chemical industry is the #1 user of MES. And you can see the biggest bubble, which is I can highlight it, which is that big green one up the top. I guess it doesn't. I don't know, I can't see the thing, but you can see the big green one at the very top. And then the other question is, well, which industries are growing the fastest? And the fastest growing industry, for what I can see looking at that chart, is the refining and the food and beverage. And right behind it is the pharmaceutical. So, and those are also large markets. And then suppliers sometimes say, well, which industries should we look into to penetrate? And from 22 to 23, the industries that I would look at is that upper right quadrant. Those are the industries, especially the larger industries, because they're growing the fastest and they're also large industries. So the upper right, I wish this little dot would work. It doesn't work, the little dot, but it's okay. Or maybe you can't see it. But anyway, that's pretty much what we do. And you can see that like water and wastewater is much smaller. It's a more consolidated industry. So it has certain suppliers go after it. And what we do see with MES is the applications vary a lot from the different industries, which is why it's so specific. So the other question we get asked a lot is where is it going to reside? Is it going to be on premise? Is it going to be in the cloud? Is it going to be hosted? And pretty much today, it's on premise, and that's with the large bubble. And you can see that it's a very consolidated, low growth as far as the premise goes. Growth is coming from the cloud. So the higher growth, and there's newer, less consolidated fragmented. So again, if I was a supplier, the industries I would look at are the ones that are MES in the cloud. That's where you're going to see growth. So the other thing that I see a lot about, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because I always find these things and I'm like, I can't figure out how to use it. I don't want to spend a week in training. User experience is so important. And it needs to be collaborative, it needs to be connected, it needs to be interconnected. And having intuitive, collaborative tools is so important today for going forward and using the technologies. And to me, people need to be connected and interconnected. Your thinking needs to be aligned. You need to have collaborative technologies and minds really aligned across the globe. And in order to do like an enterprise MES or anything. And to me, and this is my equation, user experience plus ease of use, simplification equals usage. And we've seen some of that this week. So that was it. People will use it if it's easy to use and they feel comfortable using it. And also, visual experiences are really, really helpful today. And I think the AR, VR, the digital twins, all of those technologies are really going to be important as we go forward. So the future is now, folks. We're at that inflection point. It's about adapting and using flexibly some of these transformational technologies, the new technologies that we're seeing, robotics, drones, chatbots, all those things, putting them all together, going through this cultural evolution, and also using AI. And I think AI is really, like I said, the game changer. So I think this might be my last slide, but okay. Yes, and so with that, I'd like to thank you, and I hope I set the stage for our next speaker, which is what I was trying to do, which is Whit McConnell. It sticks a little, just so you know.